What's going on, college hockey fans, and welcome back down to ice level. I currently don't have that great of a setup right now because I wanted to get this out to you guys as soon as possible, so it's going to be a very basic edit and interview. But as of 4 hours ago when I'm recording this, it is July 8th at 10:14 Eastern Standard Time. Gavin McKenna has just announced his commitment to Penn State 4 hours ago live on SportsCenter with Kevin Nagandi. And I got the chance to sit down with the entire Dan K Show staff. That's Lucas Jones, Dan K, and Bob Turo to talk about the Medicine Hat Tigers, Team Canada, CHL, and future Nittany Lions star, who is also projected to be the number one overall pick in the NHL draft in 2026, to see what to expect from him and what kind of impact this has on hockey recruiting and the future of the NCAA. So let's take it away. So, a quick refresher for all of you guys. There was a lawsuit back almost a year ago now. One of the CHL players was suing the NCAA because he couldn't come to the NCAA off of his contract. Now, that led to the eventual rule change, I believe, in November, that CHL players were allowed to enter the NCAA as long as they don't, I guess, receive more than what was called necessary expenses from the CHL, which we haven't seen anything run into yet. We were all waiting for a moment like this, but we never expected it to be this big. The projected number one overall pick for the 2026 NHL draft, Gavin McKenna of the Medicine Hat Tigers, born and bred Canadian and CHL prospect, completely flipping to good old-fashioned American, middle of nowhere Penn State hockey in one of the best environments in the NCAA, though. So, I got a couple of questions that I want to go over with the entire staff of the NK Show, but just because, in my opinion, this is the biggest star we've seen in NCAA hockey at least since Jack Eichel, and I think that's a very conservative estimate.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly something that people were waiting for, right? I know we were all waiting for it, and as it got closer, you started to hear the rumblings that it was going to happen, unconfirmed source after unconfirmed source. And I think for the more casual fan out there, the thing to kind of think about is when was the last time you heard about an athlete at this level, right? CHL, NCAA, a hockey athlete talked about this much, right? Make news to an extent like this, right? This isn't LeBron James's The Decision, but it's the hockey version of it, right? It is something where we all probably dropped what we were doing to immediately start trying to confirm this source. So it's huge development, and I think Bob, I know you've described the last month or so as what we've been building towards, right? With the stuff that we have been talking about in Hockey 101 for months and months now. This is what it's all for. And I feel like it finally coalesced into one flip from the CHL to the NCAA.
There's two reasons why Gavin McKenna is going to the NCAA. Number one, he has nothing more to accomplish against teenagers in the CHL. I don't know what his numbers were last year, like 124 points in 50 some odd games. So there's nothing more to accomplish there. The second reason is money. I mean, I don't know what the marketing team is like at Penn State, but they're going to make a lot of money from Gavin McKenna, and Gavin McKenna is going to get a lot of money. And my guess is he's probably going to be one and out. I think the real big question is not Gavin McKenna. How many more? How many more are going to follow him? And the summer is going to prove that out. The next year is going to prove that out. But he has to play against men next year. And the NCAA is 18 to 24-year-olds. And he'll be better for it. And he'll be able to prepare himself in the gym rather than playing a god-awful number of games to get ready for the National Hockey League. That's why he's heading there.
James, I think I saw that number rumored around 500 to 700,000 as well. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah,
same number.
there are rumblings about it being near NHL rookie contract amounts. I haven't heard anything official, and I'm not going to report on anything unless I'm hearing it from a reliable source. but we know this is going to be, I think, just by a gut feeling, we can all expect this to be one of the, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say the biggest, by a large margin, NIL deal we've ever seen for an NCAA hockey player. So if we do find out any information about that, I will be sure to keep you posted from my contacts around the NCAA. But just besides the money and the competition level, Bob, you said he's playing against men more than he did before, but it's also a level of depth that he never played against before as well. This is guys that are trying to stick around and prolong their hockey careers as long as they possibly can. We know he's not going to put up CHL superstar numbers like number one overall picks have in the past, but how do we think he's going to adjust to the more physical game of the NCAA?
He'll be just fine. You don't have to worry about him. He'll be just fine. They're going to have a good team at Penn State. They have a lot of good incoming freshmen. They have a good coach. There's no fighting in the NCAA, so you don't have to worry about that. This kid will be a superstar in the NCAA, just the same way as Celebrini was a superstar and Eichel was a superstar. He's going to be a superstar. The only difference between Eichel and Celebrini is the rule, and McKenna is there's a rule change. Those kids had to play in other leagues other than the CHL to get to the NCAA. This kid's coming from the CHL. That's it. And if he has success, what does it mean for all the other CHL kids? Go back to this. The CHL produces players for pro hockey. Now they're kind of producing play. The question is, are they going to be a feeder system with their best players? We know they're taking all the NCAA is taking all the CHL age outs. We know that. And we know there's going to be a couple players in the NHL from those age outs. Not many more than that. It all comes back down to, and how many times do we have to say this, guys? It's all about the elite 17 and 18-year-olds who are going to be 18 and 19. How many more are going to follow because McKenna went there? And they say, if it's good enough for McKenna, it's good enough for me. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, the precedent has already been set for the CHL being the undisputed king of development leagues around the world. But now you have, say, take the Big Ten Conference. There were a couple of teams that lost out on McKenna. We heard rumors of Michigan making offers. He never took an official visit there. We heard rumors of Michigan State making offers. I've heard that offer was about half, the NIL offer, was about half of what Penn State gave. But now when you're these big budget schools, you're looking at an entirely different crop of players. So where does the rest of the league go? Because we've seen some of the smaller budgets like the Quinnipiacs, like the Cornells, go to the CHL. But now there's a lot of players who aren't in the CHL that are saying, where do I go? And I want to bring up my favorite topic in the history of the universe, NCAA expansion. It needs to happen right now. I mean, I'm sure you guys can come off of that, but with the growth of the amount of players coming into the NCAA system, there are two factors that have always been there, but now are increasingly urgent with the increase of pathways to the NCAA, and that's time and money.
It definitely feels like he's setting the market a little bit. I mean, anytime you get we're going to talk about them like they're professional athletes now. They're getting paid to play a sport. He's setting the market, right? Every time every time there's a big name signing, everybody else kind of bases it off that. I think for some of these other schools, it's going to be hit or miss, right? There's only so often you're going to be able to recruit a generational player, and only the best, AKA the richest schools, are going to be able to do that. I think it will be interesting, though, kind of going back a touch, depending on how he does. Bob, you mentioned that that you suspect he might be a one and done. If he does really, really well, points wise, if he does okay, and if he doesn't do so okay, if there is a bigger adjustment period than we think, we've often talked about trickle-down effects. That could be an interesting trickle-down effect. I don't want to put even more pressure on the poor kid, but there might be a lot riding on how he does if he does that one and done.
Biggest thing is this. It's a double-edged sword. where
Mhm.
you're at right now, right? And I don't like to get into the Stephen A. Smith world that Lucas is dabbling in of if he does this, then A, and if he does B, then C, and if he does D, then this, and then just talk about myself, right? That I don't need to get there into that media realm. But in the reality of it, it's double-edged sword. It's the idea, James, you talked about hockey expansion, right? If I'm a school looking to get involved in the game of hockey, what I always remind hockey fans is that hockey fans are probably the most fanatic of any fan base in this country, especially and in Canada as well, right? We love the game. Those of us who love hockey adore the game. We live the game, we breathe the game. It's not the same when you talk about businesses. Okay, what they look at is the bottom line when it comes to the NHL right now, which is franchises show value, but players are being paid less than any other league, which usually tells you that the money that's coming in, the revenue that's coming in, is lesser than the other sports. Now you go to collegiate hockey, which has been notoriously, we talked about this in the last episode, smaller than all the other major sports at the Division One level in NCAA in terms of participation. These schools are either A, the great news is Gavin McKenna, the great news is Lucas's LeBron decision. The great news is we've got a big name coming to Division 1 hockey. The bad news is he costs money. The biggest thing you have to look at. We all were worried in all college sports that money's going to change the game. It hasn't changed college baseball yet. I use that as an example, right? You still saw the Murray States of the world with no money able to get to the final eight at the College World Series. You still saw teams that are not pumping NIL dollars into their organizations able to compete. The game is not completely turned on its head because the NIL money is not the same as it is in football. It's not the same as it is in basketball, where it is life-changing amounts of money being given to sometimes minors to go play college sports. So that is your biggest question. It's going to be, does the McKenna type signing, does it scare away the bigger names of the world that might expand this game? Or does the McKenna signing, is that what ignites the fire? It could do a little bit of both.
McKenna, forget about expansion for a second. The important thing with McKenna and all of the other elite players coming coming after him or with him as the 2026 NHL draft picks is this a better place to prepare yourself to play professional hockey in the NCAA than it is the CHL? To me, that's the biggest thing. I've always said it was. Why does a 19-year-old who's a really great player want to be playing against 16 and 17-year-olds? I want to be playing against men. I want to be in the gym. I want to play less games and I want to work on my body. I want to get an education in case the NHL doesn't work out. Okay? I mean, will more players see that? And to James, to your point, listen, the expansion thing, forget about it now. I mean, unless a school that doesn't have Division One hockey has a Pagula that's ready to step on the gas pedal, it's not happening right away. But maybe this is, as Dan says, a spark. We'll find out. It's too early. It's a costly sport. You got to be able to prove that you can drive revenue and you're sustainable. There's a whole bunch of NCAA programs that lose money. I mean, you're going to see, I think, contraction before you see expansion, but it'll all play out.
With the NIL pools, one quick example, Oregon football, if you're a college football fan, you know how much money Phil Knight's pouring into that program. Hockey is growing in the Pacific Northwest, the Kraken, the Canucks. Give it 10 years, Oregon, after moving to the Big Ten, now has a pathway to start a program. They're a little dark horse for that, but I also want to bring up Gavin McKenna. You talked about the competition level. Gavin McKenna said, quote, "I think it makes the jump easier," when Kevin Negandhi asked him about the transition to the NHL on Sports Center.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I think it proves the point, right? It's yes, it's competition from a competition perspective. It's a money from a money perspective. But I think as Bob said, and I think as Bob has said repeatedly, it's what's happening right now. We'll see if it continues to trend that way.
If Gavin McKenna, I didn't see the interview, but if Gavin McKenna said that he believes that it's not just about money, that this is the best place to prepare him for the National Hockey League. And other elite prospects believe that as well. That is a major blow to the CHL, because the CHL has always had the moniker as we prepare the NHL stars of the future. And their numbers prove it out. If that's taken away from the CHL, and I'm a CHL owner or general manager, I'm worried about that. I'm really worried about that. We'll see. We can speculate all we want. Let's just wait and see what happens.
Bob's a big data guy. He is the data guy.
I'm a big reality guy. I'm big on the reality of all these things, right? We can pie in the sky at all we want. We can all wish to the create a hockey team gods that USC would play UCLA one day, like we've talked about a ton on this show. But right now, the reality is that NCAA Division I hockey is one of, if not the smallest Division I hockey sports, or one of the smallest Division I sports on the NCAA's mind. And they're not worried about it right now. They're about to launch NCAA March Madness 2028, an EA Sports video game with 300 plus Division I basketball teams in it. That's going to pump more funds where? Not to hockey. It's not going to entice those 304 schools to build a hockey program. It's going to entice them to pump more time and effort into their basketball programs. The football game's doing the same. It's enticing more people to pump money into the football programs. So we have to live in the reality we're in, which right now is the teams we have are the teams we have, and hopefully that stays the same. And more teams don't leave the Division I ranks as the McKennas come and the money gets bigger, right? So in the world we are in now, the biggest thing for all of us to focus on are the stats, the data. And that's what Bob's bringing to you on the Dan K Show all the time. That's what, James, you guys are covering on Ice Level. It's a opportunity when you watch this bouquet of offering with the Dan K Show, when you read the articles that come out here and there on dankshow.com, this is the opportunity to get the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation right now in hockey is that Canada's doing pretty well. You know, NCAA hockey is going to have a little bit more of a maple tint to it. And there's going to have to be some major changes made on this side of the border at the developmental level if we're going to do more than just make graphics that point directly at the Dan K Show, a show that most of these guys wouldn't talk to a few years ago. And I know one league with no commitments at that level wouldn't talk to now, Lucas. So that's where we stand.
Yeah, as the numbers come in, we'll be finding out more answers. I think I came out of this with more questions than answers, but as a practicing journalist, that's the mindset that you want to have, and that's how we get you guys tuning into this season of Ice Level to see how the CHL prospects do as compared to the other prospects from around the NCAA, how the recruiting shapes up, how the transfer portal comes into play in the offseason after we see a full season with the new rule set. How do we see the NIL deals come in with a full season of recruiting? We're going to have all of that covered in the next 365 days of NCAA Division I ice hockey.